So again, welcome to the Bonfire Career Professionals call. We also do leadership development through these calls. This is something that we do once a month, and we're going to give a couple minutes for people to join us. We're going to start right there at noon. I encourage you to get some paper and pen, make some notes, and if you have any questions, there's definitely Q&A time. And then there's a chat. If you're not familiar with the chat in Zoom, go ahead and look for that down in your toolbar. At the bottom, you can open up the chat beside our pictures, and feel free to ask any questions there and to interact with people, give hellos to people that you may know, shout outs like that. That will make this more friendly than just the technical interface that we see ourselves on. We're going to get a couple more minutes for people to join us. Hello, Miss Lindsay DeBoer. I'm going to finish my cold coffee. I've had this since this morning, and I loved it when Starbucks started serving cold coffee, because I'm like, oh, yay, I do that all the time. Of course, there's no ice in it. It just hasn't been heated in about an hour and a half. So welcome again. Hi, Pam. So
it amazes me, like with the Yetis they have, you know, and those Arctic like coolers, and
yes,
like it will hold ice in there and the heat. So
it does. I love those. I have 3 of them, and
right.
They all seem to be dirty at the same time. So I need to bring one of them to the office. Actually, these are the cups that we have here at the new office. So again, I'll go ahead and get started because it is the top of the hour here at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tina Marie St. Cyr. I'm the founder of Bonfire Coaching. Bonfire Coaching is a professional coaching firm. We have 9 certified coaches that work with us. Each person has their own niche and specialty that they bring to the table to work with our clients. I'm so grateful that we have an entire family of coaches, and then they just help so many people in our world. We offer, under this umbrella, we offer business coaching, we offer career coaching, we offer life coaching, and a splattering of the relationship coaching that comes into all of those, because relationships are everywhere in our lives. Today, you're on the Career Professionals call, and why we do this once a month is that we, and if you could unmute on your side, that'd be awesome, if you have any background noise. What we do each month is that we allow people to come together in a group format, and we want to be able to learn together. So people that can be on this call each month, and it's the second Thursday of the month at noon, so you can even depend on that. The people that participate are our current clients that are active inside of our coaching framework, and then there are people that have come through our framework who still get access to all of our group calls, even if they're not privately coaching with one of our coaches. And then we also avail this to people who are interested in Bonfire Coaching, so that you can see what we're about and test the waters if you haven't yet said yes and leapt into private coaching, career coaching, and development for yourself. Today, what we're going to be focusing on are soft skills, and those things that we need to develop as professionals to stand out and to elevate our own personal brand, our own visibility, and to be known for what we bring to the table. Oftentimes we have to be our own advocate and cheerleader in that, and so how do we do it gracefully? And then also, what are those written and communicated through verbal means, soft skills that we need to polish up and make sure that we are representing ourselves at the highest level that we can. So before I start that, I wanted to give some shout outs and some hellos. We've got a lot of our team in one room. On the other side of this wall, we've got my team. And so in the blue shirt here in the foreground, that's Michelle Hempton. Say hi, Michelle. Big wave there. So Michelle has recently come on board our team, and she's helping get things done. If you had a title, it would be Master of All Things. And so she's getting everything done that we need some help with. So thank you, Michelle. And then in the back there in the other blue shirt is the awesome and very, very talented Director of Possibilities, Pamela Shamlin. And many of you may have even spoken to her or received an email or a shout out. because she's the one who knows of all the wonderful coaches we have. And if you have needs for coaching, she's going to help pair you with the best coach ever for you and understand your story. And then we have Larry, who you can see a little bit of him. There's Larry. So Larry is one of our coaches, and Larry is helping us move into a digital format for a lot of the paper-based work that we've done before with our clients. In fact, Lindsay, I know you've gotten the Bonfire binder. The Bonfire binder is going digital. So we are going to have a digital interface. You're going to fold it up. There's the Bonfire binder. Yay! That's going to be a relic here soon. So those people who actually got the binder are going to go, I got the binder. I remember when, because now it's becoming a digital interface, which is really great. And then Larry's also the coach who's heading up our Ready For program, and Ready For are for young adults that are from age 18 to about 27, 28, that are wanting to get ready for life. And we're not always taught the things that we need to know to have a very healthy and fulfilling, profitable or wealth-minded life. And so Larry's going to help head that program up, and we just can't wait to get started on that. So there's some people there to introduce, and we've got some clients here. So hi, Miss Gwen, and there's some congratulations to Gwen. Gwen, you've been on our program for about 6 weeks, and you had some big news. I wanted to say shout out to Gwen. So how's this couple weeks been? You've gotten an offer and a new position. How's it going?
It's going great.
Yeah.
It's going really good. I'm excited. Hannah's awesome, and so are your professional Zoom calls.
Thank you. And the framework, you've been in the framework, and it seems like it worked pretty fast for you.
Yes, it did. It's because I have such a great coach.
You do have a great coach. We only bring the best coaches on board here at Bonfire. So thank you so much. Way to go. Way to go. Congratulations. That was such a huge celebration. You should have been here whenever we were hooping and hollering for you. And then we have Bimal. Hello, Bimal. Nice to see you here. You took some time to be on our call.
Hi, Tina. Yes, thank you. I really do appreciate, the sessions. It's really informative for me.
Mm-hmm. Today we're going to be doing soft skills. It's going to be fun. And of course, I've already mentioned Lindsay. And Brian, you happen to be related to one of our coaches. Nice to see you, Brian.
Sorry, I'm also trying not to chew on camera, but.
No problem. It's okay. It's human. We all do that. It's awesome. Nice to have you here. So what we do today is it's going to be about an hour. We're going to have some Q&A. So if you do have those notes, type them in the chat. And then also feel free to ask your questions. We want to welcome our guests too. And so Oksana, I see that you're joining us. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. We're here to answer any of your questions. Anything that comes through, you're going to have available space to connect with us too. Thank you so much for being here. And hi, Mr. Alex Weber. We always love Alex. Alex, great to see your name pop up. So let's get started. The soft skills that we want to focus on today are, first I want to talk about written skills. So we live in an environment where texting and emailing are very commonplace for communicating. And so where's that fine line of professionalism whenever we're communicating our wants and our needs and responding to potential employers, to responding to our own employers and our staff? And, where do we elevate our visibility and way of being so that we are, one, respected and definitely trusted? Because trust and respect in a corporate culture allow us to communicate our needs and feel that bond, as opposed to having hesitation and possibly pain, or we're going, I don't know, should I say this, or how do I say this? And whenever we are working with our coaching clients, that comes up a lot. How do I say this? How do I frame this so that I'm well received and I don't create any ill will in the communications or with other people? So written skills are needed. The first thing, it may sound completely basic, but written skills include spelling things correctly. We have wonderful things called spell check. However, sometimes spell check does not catch grammatical issues. So it's always great to have a best buddy or a friend that they can look at what correspondence you want to send out to make sure that you have correct grammar. You're not being too wordy. We want to be succinct. We definitely want to get the point across. And so the written skills are highly necessary. From a professional standpoint, those people that are going to be considered leaders in their organization, be considered for promotion, be awarded bonuses and different awards within their organization and their corporation, those that are going to even be on an executive track, written skills are primary because they're so hard to come by nowadays. We're not taught these written skills as much as we had been in the past in our schooling. And so it's really upon us to advance ourselves in our written dialogue and our written communications outside of any typical schooling. You can find those types of courses online, and we definitely offer that through our career coaching program. So spell check, proofread, use paragraphs, where you can put in bullet points, because you and I both know people do not read, they skim. So whatever your primary point is you want to get across in your communications, make sure you make that in a bullet point fashion. The first 1 to 2 sentences in a communication are going to be the ones that are most digested by the mind. And so you want to make your point fast, clearly, and have a call to action or whatever that next step is that you're wanting the person that's reading the communication to know or take action on. So you're very clear. We do not want to have ambiguity or make assumptions. So I start asking myself, am I making an assumption here that they're going to understand me? In clear communications, we also want to avoid the use of pronouns unless you've already defined what that pronoun is referring to. Let me give you an example. If someone were to come into my door here and say, you know what, she said this and this is what we're going to be doing, I'm like, hold on a second, pause. She, who, we, what? If I have questions on who the she, he, we, what they are, then I'm not getting the clarity of the communication you want, and it causes stress for me to pull that out. So we want to communicate very clearly with names and specifics when we're communicating written and orally. Notice how many times you use pronouns to have conversations with people. That creates stress in conversation if we're not really on board with what that is. Does that make sense? That's a yes. We not. Good. So I'm going to pause here to see if you have any questions on the need for clear, concise, specific written communications. And I'm going to talk about the different modalities. Anybody have a question? Go ahead and chat. Hello, Ross. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Melissa. So modalities, use of the modality. Email is the de facto type of communication tool set that we use in our professional lives. And we want to make sure that it's not too informal. We want to honor people and respect people through using their first name in the communications. We want to use appreciation and gratitude whenever we're connecting with people in a communication, not just jump to the, here, get this done. That like the bullet point type communication can be, it hits our nervous system like we're simply an object and people want something from us. We want to take the time to slow down, have a human communication, even though it's an email, and set some tone of appreciation and gratitude. Thank you so much for taking your time and reading this correspondence. Hope you're having a great day, or congratulations may be in order for something. You want to lead with what we say here at Bonfire is begin with the wins, begin with appreciation, begin with gratitude, and then go into the level of communication that you want to have with that person. Also, summaries in emails are great. If it's a long email, people aren't going to read it. So you want to start that email with the takeaways that you want them to glean from your communication. You want to summarize what those were, because most people bookend their reading, and that's where their attention span is going to go. Top, bullet points, bottom. And you want to be clear in that. Texting is for those people that you have a really good relationship with. And you want to be also clear there, not using pronouns, using specifics, and not have texting become your primary source of communications with people. It can lessen the amount of respect they have with you as a leader and as a professional. We want to lean toward email, then phone communication, and then texting. Those are some soft skill highlights there for you as a professional. Again, I'm going to pause. Any questions there? Any examples? Has anybody gotten into any hairiness or miscommunication that you said, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done that differently? Yes, Lindsay, what?
Well, just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Congrats, Gwen, on having Hannah. She's fantastic. I love her. And recently, I was writing a resignation letter. So, and I sent her the draft, and she was really great at kind of helping me massage my words. I tend to get a little verbose. So, just wanted to plug that, that you guys are there to help. We are long past our training sessions, but I still 911 her occasionally, and she's very helpful. But one thing I was thinking as you were talking about kind of being direct and having your bottom line up front or blot or whatever is, I tend to say, I just wanted to reach out or just thought I'd run this by you. So I think maybe a lot of us are guilty of adjusting in our emails. And it really takes away from your message. And that's one thing that I just sort of, I can't help myself. So, we have a little bit more time to look over our written words. And so that's something that I've been working on that I thought maybe others could benefit from is kind of a really passive way to get a message across. You think you're being polite, but it's really just taking away from what you want to say. So just say it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? So
exactly, that's beautiful. Just is it's an unneeded word in the English language, actually. And so I challenge each one of us to listen with an observer ear when you're using the word just, and see if you could simply take that word out and then have the communication. Because it's what we're wanting to do there with the just is to somehow get our foot in the door and have those communications happen and not be interruptive and feel like we're getting some level of energy from the person, so that it's almost tiptoeing into communication, as opposed to, like you said, Lindsay, being more direct. And direct doesn't mean painful. Direct means succinct and clear. So we want to be clear, and just gives like a lesser version of our own confidence, of our own energy. It's very draining. It's a neutral. So if you've worked with Bonfire, that's an energy neutral word. And we want to take all neutrality out of our communications. Another word, since we're on that, is the word but, B-U-T, not the B-U-T-T, that's the anatomical but. If you're using that, go ahead. But the B-U-T is also not necessary. It usually is a drain word. So we ask to have people replace the word but with the word and. And again, have playfulness with this in your communication. Don't beat yourself up and say, oh my God, I said but again. It's simply interesting. There that is. We're trained to use the word but. It's a lesser word. You have the first part of your sentence. Let's say, it's almost lunchtime for me, right? So I could say, I'd really love to have sushi, but I know that, you don't like sushi, so we'll just go ahead and have Thai food, right? So the first part of the sentence is, I really want sushi, right? So if I were to say it, I'd really love to have sushi, and I also know that you're not in favor of sushi, so we can go ahead and have Thai food. It still creates respect and communication on the want. Doesn't lessen that. It pairs it with the option there, as opposed to just thinking, I'll never get what I want, right? So, but tends to have you go into the victim box, or I'm gonna not get what I want box, which we also call the brat box. So we don't want to do brat, we don't want to do victim, we want to do we're powerful, we're awesome. So replace the word but with and. And Oksana, I saw you raised your hand.
Yes. Yeah. We were, you covered email, phone, and text, and I was just wondering, since we're moving to that virtual area now, it's kind of like, where does Zoom and all these other third-party apps, like where do these come into play? Like when you're trying to reach a client or whatever.
Thank you so much for that question. We are in a digital age, and many people are now getting comfortable with Zoom. some people not so much. However, it is now one of our communication options. There are some protocol, some etiquette that we want to use within Zoom. And as a professional, I really encourage you to think mindfully of this. I have been training people since March through Zoom. We meet with coaching clients and also with executives and entire teams within organizations. And I can tell you, it's a big difference whenever I see somebody come to the table fully, I'm not going to say not dressed, like there's some people that are being very casual in their dress. In fact, one of my directors, she's a senior director at a large energy firm. In our training, I said, I want everybody to be on camera. Your cameras need to be on. And she texted me and she said, why? And I said, because we need to connect eye to eye. Even though we can't be within proximity of each other, it's still respectful and honorable to see each other. We communicate so much through body language and tonality. And if we're simply showing our, name, if you want to be considered as a very direct professional, you need to come to the table with that image, just like you would if you were in the workplace. And she said, Tina Marie, I've been wearing yoga gear and activewear since March. I'm going to have to put on real clothes. I said, yes, please put on real clothes. And I said, and by the way, how's your hair? And she said, oh, it's in a ponytail. I like it in a ponytail. I said, just go ahead and fix your hair. Because those people that you're sharing communication with here are the people that are going to either give recommendation to your promotion or be instrumental and key in the future of your career. So we want to bring that persona alive within our communications, even if on Zoom, right? Be mindful of that. You never know who you're going to cross paths with that could have a direct connection to the advancement of you as a professional. And you want to make sure that you feel confident in how you portray yourself. This is really about your confidence and your energy as well. Can you imagine if I came here today in, let's say, a t-shirt or just a not as professional top? Because on Zoom, we've got that whole, you got to be top ready, right? It's kind of funny. I do have on slacks and I do have on heels, just letting you know. But it lends itself to the confidence that we feel in our nervous system. We're prepared, we're ready. And so from a Zoom etiquette, come with your best energy, come with your best attitude, come with your best communications. Did that help, Oksana?
Yes, I was just wondering about the sequence, email, phone, text, where does Zoom come in?
Depends on the communication. Email is going to be the primary source of, we say the CYA, we're going to want things in writing. And if we're communicating with people, and it can be, I always offer, I say, would you like to connect on Zoom or would you like a phone call? So I give option for people, and that way they can choose, because not everybody's comfortable with Zoom. Not everybody's comfortable with camera. We want to give them the option. So we want to create comfort with the audience that we're connecting with as well. Maybe it's great for us, but we want them to also be comfortable.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the question. Any other questions there? I'm going to move on to verbal soft skills. We sort of hinted at it. We've already started with replacing the word but with and. It gives you more power, definitely energy richness. The other thing to keep in mind is that we want to have slower, more articulate communications. We live in a world where it's very easy to have haste within our nervous system. We want to get a lot done fast. And what happens there is that we will feel like we're on a hamster wheel. We just need to get a lot done. The problem there is miscommunication, and assumptions definitely happen when we do not take time to be articulate and clear about what we're wanting and what we're communicating. And I'm sure many of us could say yes to being misunderstood. And when we're misunderstood, it takes so much more energy to create clarity out of a miscommunication than it takes the energy to have the clear communication at the very front. One of the communications we want to have is the ability for the other person to ask questions, not simply go away and we don't know if they got it, or are they making assumptions? Do they understand? So as leaders, what we can say is, help me understand what you're taking away from our communication today. It is completely amazingly great to ask that question. We're not challenging them on their aptitudes or their intelligence or, pointing fingers at, I don't think you were listening to me. We're simply availing the space to have clear, concise takeaways from a communication, so we know we were understood, they know that they were understood, and then we can both move on to the next piece of what we're giving attention to, right? So that sounds like, help me understand, what are you taking away from today's communication? Help me understand what takeaways we have from the meeting that we've just had. Help me understand the next action steps you know that you're responsible for. We want to pause and have that. So it creates the full circle of communication and lessens the availability for assumptions. In fact, I want to ask a question here to Bimal. Bimal, you are a director and very high up within your organization, and you lead a lot of projects that are global. You work with a lot of different cultures, and culturally we can have different belief systems on how we communicate. Could you give some advice on how you, as a director within your organization, you confirm that clear communications have happened with your project teams?
Yeah, so as you said, I work with a lot of people worldwide. I give you one example of something not to do, which just happened today. We were on a Zoom call, and we invited one of our team members from Dubai to join in. Yes, it just so happened that it was evening for him. It was 7 p.m. And when he first joined the call, he did not realize that he wasn't, that the camera was on, and he actually wasn't even wearing a shirt. And this was a call with with a client organization. So yes, it's
you see on YouTube.
I mean, he turned it off quickly within a second, but the damage was done, right?
Totally.
It was apparent that he hadn't been wearing a shirt, but
glad it was just the shirt.
that is true. So yes, one of the things, you know, the other things to be mindful of is when it comes to cultural, for example, it is the accents, the language that the people use, right? So there's one of the things that I try and tell my team members is slow down when you speak and try and enunciate when you say, because there are many cultures, mine being one of them, where people speak very fast. And when they speak fast, what you're trying to communicate gets lost. So it's one of the things that we try to be constantly mindful of, because there are going to be lots of different people with different backgrounds in the conversations. So always slow down, always enunciate, and make sure that the other persons have understood. So those are some of the things that that I come across. I mean, I remember years ago, I'll give you an anecdote. I used to get invited to these meetings within the organization that I didn't need to be a part of. And, you know, I figured out after, a couple of meeting sessions that I was being invited because people from Texas and people from India were in that call. And I was playing the interpreter role. You know, I after having lived in Houston for so many years, right, I can understand both the accents. So people from Texas were in understanding what people from India were saying, and people from India were in understanding what people from Texas were saying, although both were speaking in English. And I was playing the go-between, right? So yeah, accents are important. Being mindful of cultures are important. I talk to a lot of people from the Middle East, for example. Sometimes they may come across as being rude, but they actually aren't. They're just forceful in the way they speak. That's just how they are, right? So just need to be mindful of various backgrounds dynamics when you're talking to them.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. And that's, let's say we find ourselves in an interview. Thank you, Bimal. We find ourselves in an interview. One of our clients yesterday was in an interview with, I think, Pam, it was 7 people in one day. Yeah. So a full round of interviews, you'd have to imagine that you're going to come across different belief systems, different accents, different communication styles, of course. You do have permission to say, help me understand. And so if you're hearing something, it's not disrespectful to ask them to repeat it or to help them help you understand what they're conveying if they have a thick accent or are haste, speaking very fast in their communications. It shows respect. It shows that you want to understand what they're talking about and you don't want to walk away with assumptions. It takes courage to do that, especially in an interview situation, or if you're new as an employee in an organization, or maybe you are now in communication with a higher up, that it could give you some trepidation of nervousness in your system. Our lower mind could say that I don't want to interrupt them, or I just want to listen. It shows respect whenever we say, okay, so I've picked up most of that. Could you repeat that? I may have missed something. I want to be clear that I understand what you're conveying. We want to have that availability in our side of ourselves, because that shows your professionalism. That shows that you're not going to walk away with assumptions. And you would want the same favor done for you if you're speaking and they're not understanding what you're articulating. Imagine that they go away with assumptions, and then we're going to have lack of effective work completed or produced. So in fact, challenge me if I'm wrong here. I'd have to say that the mass amount of confusion and rework that is done in companies, corporations, organizations is completely derived from a miscommunication. A miscommunication is the source of things not working. And in some fields, accidents happening. And when those accidents happen, that there are lives at stake there. So that's why we must, as professionals, take pause, move slower, want to have articulation, want to improve our communication skills, written and verbal, and take time to even train our team to have the courage to have slower communications, to lessen the assumptions that are just prevalent within so many projects right now. The other thing that I wanted to put here is feel free to rehearse. So if you are in a place where you're looking for a new career and you're going to be interviewing, please rehearse with your coach. Rehearse the interview process. Rehearse those difficult questions that you may stumble upon, and allow yourself to take that time. And in fact, Gwen, you are just like, we could put gold stars all over you, because what you've done is not only did you gain the confidence in representing your skill sets in the marketplace and what you wanted in the marketplace, and you've gone in that direction and you've received that so much more than you could have even imagined. I know the salary that you have now is just heartfelt, right? But you came to us with a speech impediment. And with that, that could be that stumbling block that, how do I interview? What are they going to think of me? So could you help us understand what the lower mind does inside of you whenever that speech impediment's part of your process, and what you could also add to how you've gotten over that with the soft skills of verbally communicating?
Right. I just go in, try to be positive, just think positively. And it's mostly my saboteur getting to me, saying that you're stumbling, they're not going to understand you. And that's not true at all.
Good job.
My warrior comes out and tells me that you're not stumbling, you're doing fine. You're just a little nervous. Slow down, take a breath, and be calm. And you got it.
There you go. Perfectly said, demonstrated. There's another gold star for Gwen. So she said it, like, yes, that saboteur is going to want to come in and be that, that devil on your shoulder saying things are screwing up, you're not communicating well. And you have the availability to take that lower mind and just go, shh, no, I'm giving power to the warrior. The warrior knows. It's more mindful, it's more present. It has a different level of energy, and that's what we lead with, is that warrior state. So good job. High five, Gwen. High five. Cool. And then the other thing, so rehearse, right? The next thing is you want to lead with kindness. Now that lower mind, that saboteur, is going to want to pick things apart and make things wrong and not good enough. And, I always say there's three, in this case, interviews we have. There's the interview that we practice, and plan for. There's the interview we actually have in front of people. And then there's the interview afterwards, like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Oh my God. And so if that mind that you go back to your car or back to your home with is the one that's going to beat you up, it's just going to instill, I said just there, Lindsay, it's going to instill in you that things aren't working. You get the mindset of saying, this is where I did achieve, this is what I did do well, and allow the wins to be the conversation you have as that third interview you do, or any communication. It could be a meeting with your boss, it could be a meeting with a client, it could simply be a meeting with a relative. We have 3 versions of those things all the time. The one we think we're going to have, the one we have, and the one we think, well, we should have had or could have done better. That third one, let your warrior speak to you, because we can improve. We don't need to beat ourselves up with it, right? So be kind. Be kind to others and be kind to yourself, right? The other is follow-up. In fact, before I talk about follow-up, Pam has a great suggestion, and this is one of her, I'm not going to say pet peeve, Pam, but this is one that you say, everybody needs to do this. So Pam, are you on mic? Could we hear you? And I want you to give people the advice that you'd love them all to hear, because this is Pam's wisdom.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think that it is imperative that, especially if you are a job seeker, that you have a personal message on your voicemail instead of the automated lady that says what number we've reached. So it goes to show people, the hiring managers or HR people or whoever's calling, it's an opportunity for you to show them your personality and your professionalism, and let them know who they've reached.
There you go. Perfect. Yep. And that's great advice.
Oh, sorry. So many people these days do not do that. And it's just something that you don't think about, really. But when people are calling you for an interview or anything to do with a job that you've applied for, you don't want to miss that call.
Exactly.
Can I add an add-on to that?
Yes, Mom, please.
The other thing is make sure that your voicemail is not full.
Yes.
A lot of the times I call people and it says, oh, you cannot leave a voicemail because their voicemail is full.
It's so aggravating, isn't it? Because we've taken the time to reach out, to leave a voicemail, to connect, right? That's completely, that is so true. Yes. Clean out your voicemail. And I have a voice recording on my voicemail. In fact, for those that have my cell phone, you can call it. I'll probably get some calls. It's good. I'll be at lunch between 1 and 2:30. You can listen to it. And so many people love my voicemail. And it's from years ago, honestly. My last name is no longer Jones. So it tells you how long I've had that voicemail there. I've been married 6 years. So the voicemail is still, hi, this is Tina Marie Jones. Thank you so much for calling. And I haven't re-recorded it. I want to transcribe it so I can do that and I get in that energy state and re-record my voicemail message. But it brings a lot of communication or at least feedback, because people go, wow, I needed that. People will borrow your energy state whenever they listen to your voicemail, and you want them to connect with that energy state of your true authentic nature. So thank you, Pam, for doing that. And you get the permission. If you have a CV online, you can even tell them your email address if you want them to email you. You can invite them to text you if that's another way to communicate with you. You give them the availability, say, I will respond to text messages sooner than I do voicemail, so feel free to text me. You have a lot of availability there to set the groundwork of how you'd love to be communicated with as well in your voicemail. And then the next one is follow-up. We do want to follow up with the people. Let's say you're in a job search and a job interview. There's a lot of different follow-up points. Through LinkedIn, we're coaching you to get recommendations. And so those people that give you a nice recommendation, you want to follow up with a note back to them. Thank you so much for your kind recommendation. If there's anything I can do for you to also increase your network or to provide a recommendation, please feel free to ask. I'm here for you. Those heartfelt communications go so far, and it really sets you apart from the fray of people that are out there. And those are the people that we remember in our circle. So follow-ups on recommendations, follow-ups on interviews. Even if you get a phone interview and you do not make it through, send a thank you note, email, more than likely, to the recruiter that did it, or whoever else you communicated with or you met with. If you do have those interview sessions, make sure you find the name of the people. You document the name of the people that you're interviewing with. You say, I love to send follow-up messages if it would be okay. What's your best email? Get that in the interview so there's no ambiguity there. You don't have to chase later to go get that, so that you can follow up with them. These people could be very instrumental to your career. You never know what connection you come across would be something that is pivotal for them or yourself in the future. So we want to be gracious there. And then also follow up whenever you do get the job. You want to send thank you notes to the people that were instrumental in making that happen. Be it your coach, be it a recruiter, maybe it's another firm, and definitely the people that you met with inside the firm. You want to thank them for the opportunity and thank them for you now being part of their organization. Handwritten notes. Handwritten notes elevate every professional I know from the people that more than likely aren't going to be on an executive or leadership track. So go buy your notes. You get little note cards with your initials on it or something nice, and send those handwritten notes out. It definitely differentiates you, and you want to do that. Again, spell check and make sure your grammar is well, because you're going to be tipping your hat of some grammar issues if you have that written communication and it doesn't come across as professional. So we want to make sure we do that. Any questions there with follow-ups or any examples with follow-ups that stood out? Yes, Oksana.
Well, for the handwriting notes, I know there's some software out there called like Peacemaker or Written, but spelled WRYTTEN.
Mm-hmm.
And like, do you think those are pretty good? Like, what they do, they analyze your handwriting and then mimic it.
They can, although it's definitely not your penmanship, right?
Right.
Our penmanship is energy. I had the grace to be able to interview Richard Branson. And Richard Branson, in that day and time, actually, that was probably about 2006, whenever I interviewed him on my radio show. And he walked around with a notepad and a pen, and he didn't use the digital devices to take notes and notepad and things like that. And he was very adamant in saying that our handwriting is like our signature. It's our art. It's our artistry, and there's energy in that. There's creation in that. There's connection in that. And each one of us, like a snowflake, like a fingerprint, have our own artistry to our handwriting. And we want to be proud of it. If you're not proud of your handwriting, I suggest you work on your handwriting. I had a CEO of a large construction firm that did not appreciate or like his handwriting, and he would have his assistant write his handwritten notes for him, and you could tell she was feminine. And so the notes came through very feminine in the energy. And even though he'd sign it with his name, it's like, oh, it's a mismatch there. And so I encouraged him to take a handwriting course, and it was just out of the ordinary for him. Here he's this big burly, he's from South America, very Latino, machismo male in signing up for a handwriting class. And at first he was resistant to it because not for me. I said, you got to do this because I want you to have pride in your handwriting. That's how we communicate. It's such an essential tool set for us. He did it, and now his handwriting is one that he's proud of. So if you're not proud of your handwriting, please find a way to become proud of your handwriting. Another CEO, he was of all things, his firm produces the glues that hold planes together. I really appreciate their need in the world. Please hold the plane together so it doesn't fall apart in the sky and come down here. So that's what the glues did, literally glues and bolts and adhesives. And he did not like his handwriting either. And so I gave him a calligraphy set. You can go to Walgreens or CVS or something of that nature, Office Depot, Office Max, and get a calligraphy set of pens. Not that real fancy pen with a pen like you can with a metal front that you have to dip in, all that kind of stuff. It's simply they make ballpoint pens that are calligraphy pens. And I said, write with a calligraphy pen and see what that does. And so he did. And he said, wow, this is great. It's the same handwriting that he was using. However, it looks more professional. And so in all of his correspondence now, he uses a calligraphy pen to communicate. And it's been a huge differentiator for him. So those notes, we want to have the energy of our soul to come through the handwritten note. People know the difference. You know the difference. And whenever we allow technology to be that interface, the energy is more than likely not going to be conveyed the same. And I know I'm probably talking to some younger people who the digital age is here. That's all you've known is digital age. And we are going to be all replaced by robots one day, I'm pretty sure. However, right now, the handwriting is still a connection and a human element that I encourage you to utilize. The game here is to elevate yourself above all the other people that are out there as you know, possibilities, be it a new career you're going into or the career you're in. We want to elevate and differentiate ourselves with a lot of style, and handwriting is one of those. The next is having a cover letter. Now, some people say, you don't need to send a cover letter. Yes, you do. If you want to be considered and really get your point across, that's where your personality comes through. That's where your want for the position. It's where your desire gets felt there, and you get to articulate how great you believe you are for the job. This is where you do a little self-promotion, and it can feel really uncomfortable to do that self-promotion. However, you want to have a cover letter. Work with your coach. We have cover letter templates, and we'll help you write your cover letter for each job that you want to apply for. That is going to completely differentiate you. In fact, whenever I interview people, I ask them for 3 things. One is your cover letter. Second is the resume. Third is a list of references. If they do not come with all 3, they are not considered. And I want to see people's handwriting, their articulation, their use of grammar and punctuation, their ability to convey points and to negotiate through the cover letter. And I can feel their personality in that as well. You don't so much in a resume at all. A resume is very pointed and just like detailed. Your personality doesn't shine through there. That's where you get to express yourself through a cover letter. It's a great soft skill use, right? We've already talked about being mindful. And the other thing that I want you to know is whenever you're in your job search, or if you are an executive or a professional within an organization, stay abreast of the advancements that your company or organization are making in the world. You must be informed, because coming into a meeting, coming into an interview without knowing about the latest news of that organization, the history of that organization, who the leadership is within that organization, I guarantee you will be asked a question and you will fall on your face there. And you're going to regret not having done your research. There was a gentleman who came in earlier this year. I was hiring. He, by all standards, his resume was exactly what I was looking for. He had a brilliant cover letter. He presented well. He wore a suit, which in this day and time was not customary. And he came in and I asked him, so help me understand, what does my company do for the world? And he stumbled. He goes, what do you mean? I said, just tell me a bit about Bonfire. Tell me what Bonfire does and what we're known for. He goes, well, coaching? Great. What type of coaching? Sorry, ma'am, I really don't know. Have you done any research on me or the company or where you are here? And he said, no, I didn't. And I gracefully said, thank you so much. And the interview's over. The reason why is I do not want to waste my time selling somebody on my company. They either have to fall in love with the company and the mission that we have, the vision that we have. They had to have a stake in the game. And the way you're going to have stake in the game is to do the research on the organization, know the leadership, where have they been, what have they accomplished, what are they known for, where is their vision, where are they going? And there's so much available information on the web right now. There's no reason to not know exactly who you're in front of, what their history is, where they graduate from, so that you go in completely prepared. And that is a very needed soft skill, is being prepared for every meeting you go into. Because if you're in there with haste and simply trying to get work done, it's going to be a different energy. It's not attractive. And as a professional who's growing yourself, you're not going to be considered for promotions. Those people considered for promotions are the ones that are well-versed. They come prepared. They've done their work. They're in an energy state of receptivity, and they're there to participate and be very mindful, not, 5 to-dos in the future or 5 to-dos in the past. They are mindful and they are here. And as someone who would be interviewing, you need to know what's going on. In fact, any questions there or comments on being completely prepared and doing research on a company, and we have some hiring managers here, have you also asked questions to know that people were not prepared whenever they were at a meeting or an interview? Who would love to share? There'll be somebody here that'd love to share there. I'm not the only hard person in the bunch, I tell you. But I don't like to have my time wasted for people that are looking for handouts. I want them to look for a hand up. And that's how you're going to differentiate yourself. You've got to have skin in the game. And definitely know what you want.
I just have one question while people are thinking about what they want to say, maybe. So we were talking about follow-ups and like after an interview and everything, and it was with the assumption like they haven't been hired or whatever. So what would happen? What do you think is an appropriate response if, what about once you get hired? How do you respond to that person? Are you supposed to feel indebted to that person? There's a sense of that sometimes, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of different versions of answers for that one. So what you're saying is when you do get hired, what do you do as a follow-up to the people that have brought you on?
Right.
It's a thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so glad to be part of your team. I'm looking forward to working together and developing a relationship and moving the projects forward here together under, whatever the umbrella is for the organization's name. So it's a simple thank you, right? Thank you for the opportunity. Now, we do want to also send that thank you to the people where we didn't get the offer. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was very nice meeting you. I wish you well. I look forward to following your organization. It was, I really enjoyed making the connection.
May I ask one question?
Yes, Michelle.
When you send thank you notes by the mail, you just send them to their offices?
I do send them to their offices, and right now, since we're working from home, it's a little bit more of a delicate conversation. So when I'm working with my clients, I ask them if they strongly want to send a thank you. And I'm going to give you another hack that's really cool. I'd say you would email them and say, I like to send out thank you notes. It's one of my formal processes, one of my follow-up processes. I'd love to send you a thank you note. And would I address that to your office suite? Or would that be something you would prefer to receive at your home office currently? And give them the option. And so many of the people who are working from home saying, no, go ahead and send it to my at-home office. They're okay with that. They're getting their correspondence from the company already in that fashion. So they're grateful to get a thank you note at home. Now, the hack that I would definitely share, and you've heard this on another call prior, is the follow-up. If you really want that job and you really want to stand out, send them a business book or send something of relevance to the position or to their way of being. Maybe you see that they follow a certain author or something on LinkedIn. You would find something of relevance, an actual book. All my books are over here. So let me just stand up and get a book. So all my stuff is not on my, these are not the kind of books that you would send because this is my spiritual book section. Doreen Virgil, Messages from Your Angels. It would be a business book, right? And you'd get the book and you would put a note card in it, not right in the book, but you want to, because you're not the author, you want to put a note card in it with your thank you there and have it stick out just a little bit. Put that in a FedEx envelope or UPS envelope or something of that nature and send that to them as your thank you. So if you really want to stand out, send a business book or something of relevance to their industry or something like that. And that usually makes it past any type of gatekeeper. It's going to go straight to their desk. But thank you, Michelle. You would ask where you could send that And usually with corporate policies, a book is not going to be outside of the realm of a gift that they can receive, because it's typically anywhere from $25 or less. And that's usually standard corporate policy to receive those gifts. Yep. So any Q&A here today? Any Q&A? Today we're talking about soft skills, verbal, written. Another soft skill we didn't get in today is body language. And so being receptive, we don't want to have this type of body language that shows lack of receptivity, Zoom or even in person. Using curiosity, inquisitiveness, lean in, not lean in like this, but literally, you know, your body posture is receptive whenever you're in an interview situation or even in a meeting. We pick up our body language and our energy very easily. We're all the same cloth, right? So our nervous systems react the same way, and we're all very smart. So our energy precedes us. We want to be mindful of that. Any questions? Was this helpful today? Was this helpful? So a couple notes would be great if you could, if you have the availability to put in the chat, you know, this is one of my takeaways. That would be great. And in fact, let's go ahead and hear some of those takeaways while you're already mindfully chatting and putting some energy into the chat. What are some takeaways from today's connection on our Career Professionals call that you're going to, you know, bring into your own career and your leadership? What are takeaways?
Hi, this is Larry.
Hello, Larry.
I greatly appreciate the use of the written word on a card, something very quick, but, you know, meaningful and personal. I think that's very impactful. So that's one of the takeaways I have from there. And of course, the language of just and but. So just a few things we say quite often and forget about, that if I just didn't use just, then it would be fantastic. So thanks. That's what I get from it.
You're very welcome, Larry. And in fact, you've reminded me of something. On the follow-ups, it is perfectly fine to send a follow-up email, post an interview or post a meeting that was instrumental to progress, and then follow up with a handwritten note as well. So we want to be very timely in our thank you notes. And oftentimes if you're sending it in the mail, it's not going to get there for a couple days. So in that space and time on your interview day, you want to send thank yous the same day through email. Then you put the handwritten note in the mail, and that's also following that. And it's not going to be word for word. Make those a little different. However, you want to send that appreciation for the time and attention as fast as possible, same day, through email. What are some other takeaways?
I have a takeaway and a suggestion, maybe.
Yes.
My takeaway is the confirmation that, you know, as a Texan, I do tend to talk a little slower than some. And we're accused of that in kind of a derogatory way a lot of the time. Maybe not a lot of the time, but I certainly have been called out before in a situation where it was a senior person saying, you know, you talk like from Texas, and he was really it had a profound impact on me, because he was, you know, making fun of me in front of a group of my colleagues and subordinates, and I thought, you know what, that may be true. I do have an accent, but I really did appreciate the fact that you highlighted it's good to talk a little bit slower, and especially when, as a lot of us do, have interactions with people from different cultures or languages. So it made me feel a little bit better that, you know, I'm not just some crazy slow talking Texas person. You know, I do try to be professional, but it is part of my nature to kind of thoughtfully go through the things in my head in a way that people can understand. So thank you for that.
Would you like a kind response to that type of hit?
Yes.
I mean, sure. Yeah. This was a decade or more ago, but I will never forget it. You know, it was just
you get to reframe it. You get to reframe it.
Exactly.
So there's plenty clients I have from the New York and New Jersey areas, and they tend to talk really fast. They're not as kind sometimes and longer articulated messages, right? And so I had this one executive, he said, you like to draw things out, don't you? I remember thinking, I could have taken that as a hit. So it's all in our response, right? And I said, yes, when you're painting a picture, you want to make it pretty.
Yeah.
Right. And so sometimes we can have really good comebacks that make them look as
I wish I'd had that in my back pocket then.
as bad as they're coming across, right? Or you know, so we want to lead with appreciation. Yes, thank you for noticing. Or I love my accent. It makes me who I am. Thank you for noticing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Bless you, Ross.
My suggestion was in the process of networking in the last several months.
Mm-hmm.
It is pretty extensive process sometimes when you're putting your feelers out there, whether it's professional or, you know, just some altruistic things that I wanted to be involved with. But there's a spreadsheet, and I can't remember what the search was to find it in Excel, but it basically helps you track all of the networking. And I kind of changed some of the headings, but it has spots for, okay, well, this is that person's email, and here's who they introduced me to, and here's my first connect with them. How did I find them? When did I follow up? And because it does get a little overwhelming to keep up when you're kind of either in a job hunt or networking, whatever you're doing. So it really helped me kind of stay on track. So
I know you'd sent that over to us at one point. So, and if you want to send that again, we can make that available through the website.
Yeah.
And then have that as one of the downloads that people can access as well. You pointed out another word. I'm not picking on you in any way. However, you pointed out a word that we want to make sure we steer away from, and that's the word kinda. Two words there, kinda and sorta. Whenever we're describing what we've done and how we've done it, and people are wanting to understand, they're looking in their mind, is this a fit, right? If they ask us a question, we say, well, kinda. That's ambiguous. I mean, that's ambiguous. That's not clear. We can't trust kinda, and we can't trust sorta. That's an energy neutral response. So we want to be clear that we're not going to use the word kinda and sorta in our communications. We want to be off. That's a fence. That's like on the fence. We want to be off the fence. We're either a yes or we're a no on something, and be very clear to own it. Right. So perfect. And one more takeaway. Who has another takeaway that we can share for our time together? And then we're going to call this one a wrap.
This is Leisha.
Hi, Leisha.
I like the beginning with the wins, and I find it difficult sometimes I was wondering if you have any other ideas other than, you know, hope you've been well, you know, what else is there when you're trying to communicate and start with a good feel?
Perfect. So there are two different types. There's the written and then the verbal. Written, I appreciate your attention. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to your feedback. Things of that nature.
If you know them better, a little better than that.
Such as?
You speak to them maybe once a month, and you're on a little bit more friendly terms. You want to reach out to them and say something and not just get right straight to business. But you don't want to be too unprofessional.
There you go. Hope all's going well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sending best wishes to you and your family at this time.
Okay.
And so I do that. I mean, I just sent a communication to a past client, and I said, hoping that you and your family are well through the health crisis that we're all experiencing right now. Looking forward to connecting in the future when we get to again. And then I went into the details of the communication that I had at hand.
Thanks.
You're so welcome. Thank you for asking. And there are those the nuances of how do we begin communications with the cordialness and the respect with the people that we're in front of. And we are all, luckily, at the end of the day, we are all human. So that we're not some kind of weird species that doesn't react the same way or have the same needs. And yes, our values can change. However, love and connection, trust, respect, and contribution will always be at the top of the human mind and soul. And so we lead with that, and we want to avail ourselves to have more of that in our life. It takes courage, it takes energy. And as professionals and as people who are going to help influence and contribute to a higher order, whatever we're producing, that's who we are. So do we allow that saboteur of, am I doing it right? Am I good enough? all that type of mind, we just let it to sit in the corner. You know, you can always pick it up if you love to think that way, but most people don't. So simply let it sit in the corner and go, no, I'm going to come from my warrior state. I'm going to come from my empathetic state, that contribution place, and trust that that's how humans want to connect, because it is. And even more so, right? Given where we've been in 2020. Thank you so much for your time and lending your attention here on the Bonfire Career Professionals call. If this has been of help to you, definitely spread the word and the message. We ask that you visit us on Facebook at Bonfire Coaching. You'll be able to find our flame there, so you'll know that you're in the right place. And go to our website if you want to download some resources. I know that our wonderful matron of the person, she's the person that keeps all this coordinated on the digital side. Her name is Kate. So this recording will be up there in some fashion. Kate will have a beautiful way to make it happen. And we'll send that out through MailChimp. If you're not yet on our mailing list, please do go to bonfirecoaching.com and subscribe. There's so many things that we send out to you to benefit you in your life and your career, and definitely your business. Thank you again for your time. It's always a pleasure. I love you all. Have a great one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Larry.
See you, Oksana. See you, Brian.